Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, we're working on the R69 GT-R. It's an R34 and an R35 put together. We're using the R35 chassis, interior, engine, drivetrain, powertrain, all that stuff, with all the great looks of the classic R34. It's our way of making a 100% street legal R34 GT-R for us to play around with. In today's episode, we're going to be focusing on adding a lot of strength and structure to the R35 chassis. We had to cut a lot of weight to get the R34 body to fit. Now that the body fits, we got to add all that strength and rigidity back in. Strength, safety, and better performance will all come with a lot more structural stability. And we're going to take a look at our ride height, our wheel selection, and our rear quarter panels. We're going to be checking out wide body options. I have two different wide body options for this vehicle. We're going to test them both out. We got a couple sets of wheels around here that we want to test out for wheel size, and then we're going to lower the car down to figure out where our ride height needs to be. It's going to be an exciting episode. Stay tuned. Before we get down to work, I want to take a second out to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is happily sponsored by Cove. I've used this high performance split speaker for years now. It's a really great product, and now they have them in more than 3 colors as well. This color is called Concrete. It's a nice little, very light gray, very elegant looking color. It looks great with the blue light too. It's got quick connect via Bluetooth 5.0, so this is your go-to Bluetooth speaker for whatever your needs. We use it here in the garage. It's great for being used outdoors, like when we're working on the cars outside, when we go camping. They also, if you're in a car that doesn't have a stereo system, these fit in most cup holders, and you get really great, like dynamic sound. Everything from the bass to the treble and the highs and the lows are very crisp and very impressive. Honestly, most people that hear these speakers when we're hanging out end up wanting one. I actually even had to get one for my dad as a gift. It can get really loud. It's got really good volume, but check this out. You can split it up and get 360 sound. I gotta turn this down a little bit. So if you put one of each half on each side of you, you get this awesome 360 degree surround sound feeling, and it's a very dynamic sound, very cool. The battery in this is great. I can usually run it all day long without having to charge it, and it is water resistant, and it has a built-in microphone with up to 30 feet of range if you want to use it for like a conference call or something like that. It is hands down the perfect gift for under 80 bucks. So guys, you're gonna wanna check this out. The link is in the top of the description. Go click on it. You'll get 68% off or more. This is a very unique piece of tech. It's very high quality, very good build standards, and it's a very affordable Bluetooth speaker. It's really awesome. We use them all the time, and we've been using them for years. And it's got the 360 sound. I mean, you can't beat it. So guys, go check it out. Link is in the description. Huge thanks to Cove for sponsoring this episode. Let's get down to work. All right, getting to work. This is what's left of our frame rail from the R35 GT-R. It's basically nothing. You guys can see it's flimsy metal, right? So what we wanted to do, the game plan the whole time, is to be reinforcing this with a frame rail that's large enough to be a vehicle frame rail all on its own. So we're talking very thick wall, rectangle steel that's gonna run along here and then tie into this piece that'll then enforce that. Now the body won't be able to slide on over it anymore because the body is too tight to the side here. So what we're gonna have to do is cut the bottom off of this, and then it'll be able to slide over our railing once it's in there, our frame rail. And then we'll integrate the frame rail into this piece and into this piece, hopefully making it stronger than it ever was in the first place. Alright guys, I got a ton of progress to show you guys. We got the body back on with the frame reinforcements in. Yesterday I was doing doctor stuff. I got an update for you guys with the whole cancer thing. I'll tell you about it a little bit later. Oscar and Kyle were at work on this thing and got a lot done. I'm really excited. Let me show you around. So the body's been trimmed right down here. It's hard to see, so it can go over this square frame rail, and then now you can see like right here, that silver, that's the supporting frame rail that runs all the way through here. It's just tack welded on, and then we've got the vertical support that's coming through here, which everything will be fully welded up in the end, but this is the start of it. So this is where our body is gonna go in the long run. And again, this rail will get welded onto the inside, the original R35, and then the outside fully welded around, and then we weld the bottom of this thing back on there, and then we can apply side skirts and stuff like that. So very, very cool. It's fitting up really, really well, and I'm stoked about the way it's looking. We wanted to see what we're gonna do with this windshield section here. We may be leaving this section if the windshield can clear it, so we're gonna go ahead and grab the windshield out of storage and test fit it on here. Windshield fits very, very well. We've got plenty of room between the windshield and that lower part that I was kind of worried about, that black OEM piece. So yeah, it'll be a connection from this piece of metal to that black one, and that'll just block out all this engine, you know, the heat from the engine, any potential debris and everything like that, keeping the interior, and the exterior, keeping them separated. But yeah, glass fits in nicely. Just got to remember to order the trim. We may extend this black bar down here. Right here, it's right here. I think it could go up like about maybe 2 finger width, a little bit more. We still want to be able to see our VIN number in there, but other than that, running around there, good to go. Cool, so we're gonna pop that off and start looking at wheels. While the guys are putting the windshield away, I wanna give you an update on the whole cancer situation. So, my next step is surgery. I gotta go in and get surgery. They're doing 2 things. They're cutting out all the cancer that's still on my skin, on my back, and then we're doing what's called a sentinel node biopsy, where they're gonna find out which lymph node is connected to that spot of my body, and then they're gonna take that out to test it. And we're really hoping that that test goes well. So that surgery was scheduled originally for like middle of October, which was gonna be really hard with SEMA is just right at the end of October. It's at the very beginning of November technically. So I was really hoping that we might be able to get it sooner, but with COVID just really hurting all the hospitals right now, it wasn't likely. But we got lucky, and hopefully this is a trend that'll continue. And we got this surgery scheduled for at the end of September. So I'll let you guys know a little bit more as we get closer. We're not that far away from it right now, but I think it's like the 29th. I go in for surgery, and it's gonna be, you know, I'll be under for like hours and hours and hours. They're cutting a bunch out of my back, but it's actually not really that big of a deal as far as I understand. It's just skin and fat. They're not cutting out muscle, so I think this is a pretty low risk, nothing to freak out about type of surgery. So that's the update on that, and then after that surgery is done, I don't get to work for a little bit, so things will get even more interesting. But let's start thinking about wheels. These R35 wheels are too big and look dorky. My goal for today is to try and get some smaller wheels on here. I want to start with an 18. So we have some stock 370Z wheels. We're going to go ahead and pull these 2 wheels off and see if we can fit a 370Z wheel on here and if it'll clear these pretty massive brake calipers. We finally got wheels on here. Man, we tried a lot of different ones, from Mustangs to other things to just some random stuff. An aftermarket 18 fits on the rear, just barely doesn't fit on the front because it can't clear the brake caliper. So this set that we have on here now is a Koenig Ampliform, and it's just something we borrowed off my 370Z drift car. And this is a relatively low offset, so if we go higher offset, it'll push this wheel in more like this, so we could definitely make the car less wide if we want to, but this is what we're here to test out. So I think the next thing that we want to do is start looking at a lot of body pieces. Hopefully not to spoil too much stuff. We're gonna go ahead and grab our fiberglass wide body over fenders, our front fenders that are also wide body, and we're probably gonna find out that our front wheels are actually not wide enough. We're gonna go even wider, which will be cool. And then side skirts, the side skirt, underskirt as well, and we'll start kind of looking at a lot of this stuff. Let's start with the rear quarter panel. Aha, this looks awesome. So we had metal R34 GT-R fenders, quarter panels for this car. So we could have done a quarter panel swap and that would have moved it out, I believe, an extra 30 mils. This brings it out an extra like 50 mils. And we are like this wheel and tire will tuck if once we adjust the toe a little bit to bring that thing a little bit level. And as the car levels down, I think this will tuck. But again, we can get a wheel that's a little bit more in and make sure that it tucks nicely. Overall, this thing fits up with the car really, really well. It's a very well made piece. It's following all the lines once we like put it all the way on here. And it looks really, really good. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the Cleco pins. We'll be drilling holes through the piece and through the body and Cleco pinning this thing on in place exactly where we want it, so we continue working on the mock-up. This is really exciting. So we got this thing Clecoed on here. This is not going anywhere. It's pretty strong. You guys remember we actually test drove our body swap Mustang with a lot of Clecoed on body panels. So that is a really, really good fit panel. We've got a few other things that we want to be looking at here. The side skirts to see if they're going to cover up a lot of our kind of cosmetic stuff that we have going on underneath there. I would like to lower the car, but that's going to be hard because now to cut the springs, we actually have to take the body back off. So I think we want to move on to the side skirts now, and we're probably just going to keep continuing testing out our body panels that we have for this. So from the same brand that I bought these all came off of eBay, by the way. I just did some searching along eBay, found a company that has a good reputation, ordered stuff from them a very, very long time ago. So we've got some side skirts and the lower side skirt extensions, and we're going to go ahead and test fit those now. They are made specifically to be able to match up with this wide body because this kicks out a lot wider. So hopefully we can get them to line up well, and we'll probably Cleco them in there if we can. Just remembered, we did cut off the bottom of the frame rail, so this is probably going to be a little bit double tricky, but hopefully we can make it work. Alright guys, now don't get overly excited because like mock fitting body panels is really easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's actually what most YouTubers do. They do this and then they send it off to a body shop who does the rest of the work. We're gonna do all the work, but I'm just saying right now, this is gonna look really awesome, but there's still a lot of work for us to do to actually make it real. Holding a body on with Cleco pins is not exactly a job done, right? But these side skirts just like made the whole thing start to come together. It looks so awesome. So the car's riding high right now. Obviously you can see with the amount of wheel gap that we have in the rear and everything. So imagine it down a little bit lower, and then as we get down and we're looking and we're looking and we're like looking under the car, you don't see that secondary lip anymore. You actually start to see the belly pan of the chassis before you see that second lip. So this side skirt, the first and secondary side skirt, completely made that stuff disappear. The other really good thing is these parts are really, really good quality. Sometimes it's hit and miss when you order from body kits from Russia, you know, but this actually, these panels are really good quality. They're not all wavy. They're matching up and fitting up really well. So that's really awesome. So we were going to keep cranking on this before we run out of daylight. We have a wide body front fender that we want to fit. So the idea is if we know our wide body rear and we have our wide body front fender, we can then communicate to Koenig the exact wheel size and offset that we want for our brand new wheel that's going to come out. So what Oscar's holding here is our fender. It's a very aggressive wide body fender. This is 50 millimeters over stock R34. It's kind of got this Z-tune flare that comes out right here, and this is a fender that kind of sits even wider out than the door. I really like the look of it. Problem is right now it doesn't fit. This vent section right here takes up a lot of space that the R34 normally would have had available, but because we have R35 framing underneath here, and that's something we do not want to get rid of, we actually want to keep building onto that so it all gets integrated all through here. We can't just lay this thing flat on here. So you can see Oscar started making some lines right here. We're gonna go ahead and then start making a chop. We may lose some of these vents for the time being, but we'll be able to build them back later. Especially I'm I wouldn't mind building them out of metal if we needed to. So we're gonna go ahead and chop up this fender right now to be able to fit it over our kind of R34, R35 homologation of fender area. We eventually had to turn this fender into a two-piece fender, which I think is going to look best in the long run. And then if you guys want to see kind of the offset, now this needs to come in a little bit more this way. We can't right now, we're limited. And you can see that the offset, like this wheel would almost kind of tuck into here. I think what we want to do is this offset of wheel. If you guys don't know, the offset is how deep, like it's basically the location of the outside of the wheel. A positive offset is going to bring your wheel in more like that, and a negative offset is going to bring your wheel out like this. So I think we want to go positive 10 more millimeters in these. I was just talking with Scott at Koenig, and these he thinks are a plus 25. So if we do a plus 35, we'll still be able to clear our brake calipers, but we're going to be in a little bit more because we're going to want to be able to tuck these wheels. We're going to want, when the suspension actuates, them to actually be able to go up under the fenders on both sides, front and rear. And I think 10 millimeters is it's a little shy of half an inch going inward is going to be pretty solid. We could even do more potentially, but we'll see. I'm sure we can get some other wheels too that we can test fit if we want to, but this is the goal of why we're doing this, is to kind of figure out where things are going to land. Obviously we wanted to see how the body kit's going to look, which it looks phenomenal. We wanted to see how things were going to land for our wheels so we can start getting our wheels going. So if you guys remember from the beginning of the build series that Koenig is creating a new line of wheels, and this build is kind of in a collab with Koenig to help promote that new line of wheels, and we are getting our own special Beast for Build model out of that new line of wheel that you guys will be able to buy online and all that good stuff, and we're going to be showing them off on this vehicle. Now there is some news about that. Koenig is no longer going to SEMA. They have decided to skip this year because of the COVID pandemic. I 100% understand where they're coming from. We had a long talk on the phone about the situation that it puts people in that want to have booths and do things there, and I totally understand that situation that they made. And it is like, honestly, it's a little bit of stress off of our back. So now we don't have this really, really tight deadline to get this car ready and the Jumpicon ready for SEMA. So I'm not like too hurt about it, honestly. There are other companies that have offered to let us have this car in their booth at SEMA, and we have declined because with the cancer thing that came up, and it obviously was a very aggressive deadline, we didn't really want to add too much pressure on ourselves. I mean, my doctor told me that for 6 weeks, which is like from my surgery date, that I'm not supposed to lift anything over 10 pounds. So it's like, how am I supposed to really like do some crazy no sleep for 5 days SEMA prep thing if I can't even like lift stuff and things like that? I just don't think it's a good idea. So because of what happened with me health-wise, and what happened with Koenig just wanting to sit this year out because of health precautions, I mean, we're just going to take our time and chill on this build and do it, you know, 100% right, no shortcuts, make sure that we put all the time in all the places that it needs. And luckily these body panels are really, really solid, so it's looking really good, and I don't think it's going to be, it's not going to be as hard as what we were looking at doing with the Mustang as far as the amount of body work that we had left to do. So as you guys can see, we're at a light. The car is coming along amazingly well. Just remember, there's a lot of work that has to be done behind the scenes on this to make these panels and all this stuff for real. So please tune in for that. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you guys all so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace! Come on.